Hello, and welcome to this LORIOT live webinar. I'm Dario Macarrone, and I'm happy to introduce the topic today. And let me start with an uncomfortable truth. Operating an IoT deployment is hard. And, well, I have to say, IoT is fundamentally complex. And when something goes wrong, because something at one point goes wrong, the most frustrating and challenging thing isn't fixing the problem, actually, but very often is detecting and understanding the root causes behind the issue. And and this can take hours, even if we have the log data. And it's very complex, and you have to have, let's say, an eye for it. You have to have experience, and we know it very well because this is exactly why we created the Network Insight platform, NIP, and it was specifically created for enterprise grade monitoring and analytics, and it is the tool that our DevOps team, IT operation team uses when we have to solve clients' problem. And today, with our speaker, we will dive into this new tool and its capabilities and the kind of problems and issues it allows to detect and hopefully then resolve. So let me now welcome our guest. Hello, Agustín. Agustín Roberi is our requirement engineer, but also say product owner and responsible for the Network Insight platform. And I will definitely already leave you the word. Remember that at the end of the session, you will be able to also ask your questions. So wait, but you can, in the meantime, share the questions in the chat, whether if you are watching the LinkedIn live or on YouTube. And at the end of the session, we will ask Agustín all the questions you have. Without any further ado, the floor is yours, Agustín. Let's get started.
Thank you, Dario, for the introduction. So welcome everybody, wherever you're joining live or watching the webinar later. So as Dario so greatly introduced you, the topic here today is we are trying to tackle one of the hardest things to do when managing an IoT network, which is to find the root cause behind any issues that you may encounter as a network operator. So I think that, as Dario said, is one of the most difficult things about managing an IoT network. And in terms of those challenges, what we try to do at LORIOT is to develop a tool that we internally use, the DevOps team at LORIOT use frequently, and we have managed to produce a product that it's aimed to solve and help customers and users across any type of real-world use cases to improve not only their actual networks, but also the service they provide to other customers. So let's begin. So a quick table of contents of the index of the webinar. First, I will introduce you to the Network Insight platform, or NIP. Then we will go through a quick demo with a real-world scenario to picture how you can leverage the NIP. Then I will go over the core features and the capabilities of the platform. And at the end, as Dario said, you can leave your questions, and in the end, we have a quick Q&A session, and I will try to answer all your questions. So as Dario introduced me, I'm Agustín Roberi. I'm a requirements engineer here at LORIOT. And yeah, without further ado, let's dive into it. So as we mentioned, one of the difficult things about managing an IoT network is the blind spot that you usually stumble upon when you get, for example, a customer complaint about I don't know, a device is not sending any information, or a gateway is offline, or you just receive a complaint about not being able to see any data on your application server, for example. So many things that we usually see on the market, on the real world scenarios, is that there are many unpleasant situations that the lack of visibility produced by the amount of data and especially raw data that is not processed, you cannot take any insights from that information, at least not very quickly, and maybe you have to work to find those insights. So in overall, you are just consuming all of your time trying to study or analyze a specific case, which may not be repeated, and the next complaint will be completely different. So as I said, like this blind spot that we usually, or these situations that we usually have experienced at LORIOT is, for example, trying to read raw events, log events from the NMS. Yeah, it's quite difficult to process this information when you get like a request with 1,000 log events. It's quite difficult to extract any direct insight from that. Also, one of the things that situations you stumble upon is discovering that you have an outage from the network. For example, just a gateway disconnecting from the server, and you only notice this when you receive a complaint. For example, you don't get the notice in the exact moment the issue happens. You usually get the complaint directly from the customer, and the issue has been going on for hours maybe. Another thing that usually happens is that it's the low visibility into the gateway traffic. It's quite difficult sometimes to see what's going on the gateway, and being able to detect when a gateway is completely or partially overloaded with traffic, maybe in specific frequency channels or completely. And also like detect the overall status of the gateway if the issue has to do with something else. Also, sometimes it's quite difficult to be proactively being aware of the status of end devices, especially or specifically end device batteries, which can, I mean, this degradation of the status of the battery, which is part of every IoT deployment, at least those typical deployments which are battery based, obviously. It's quite difficult to be consistent to check the battery status every day or every week, obviously. So this may lead eventually to happen that a specific device may start to fail because of the battery degradation, and you don't even know about it, or you didn't suspect it at all. So this is another of these unpleasant situations that we usually encounter. Also, sometimes the lack of historical data. As you know, sometimes, for example, the NMS has a certain, like any system, has a certain data retention policy, and sometimes it's difficult to be able to retrieve all the information, and not only to retrieve it but to store it in an accessible way, which is, user-friendly to later retrieve and use. And of course, the result of all of these issues and many other issues that I'm not mentioning here is, which is, I think, the higher or cost of all. It's wasting hours manually analyzing, querying data to try to resolve a single incident. When, as I said, maybe the next complaint, the next incident will be completely different, and maybe all the work you did before for the previous complaint or the previous scenario is completely not useful at all for this new scenario. So yeah, wasting man hours on each incident, I think it's the highest cost for any company that is managing an IoT network. So what do we do about this, or what did LORIOT do about it? So we recently launched the Network Insight platform, which has entered the room to act as the response to these market scenarios and needs that we usually. It's also a response to our current customers, which, as Dario mentioned, our own teams, the DevOps team, usually use this tool to, in their own way, to help sometimes with solving certain issues. So right now, this is more. We took that and we evolve it and try to deliver a product that is more holistic and tries to cover all the cases, not only from the DevOps perspective of a company or a IoT network provider, but also for end users which are just managing a single deployment on a specific case. So what is the Network Insight Platform, or NIP, as we call it? The NIP is an enterprise monitoring and analytics tool. It has the ability to ingest data in real time and use that data, for example, to monitor certain conditions, to trigger alerts, and to give you the ability to create visualizations that allow you to get insights from that raw data that you receive from the NMS. Not only that, but the NIP itself already comes with its own out-of-the-box set of dashboards and visualizations that users can directly use as soon as they gain access to the platform. They already have the information there and can start using it. So the main problem the NIP aims to solve, I think we kind of mentioned this in the previous slides, but cutting to the chase, it's the lack of actionable visibility. As I said, it's very difficult sometimes to gain insights from a raw collection of log events. So this is a tool that provides you the ability to give you the insights right away. Once you maybe apply some time filters or search for a specific device or gateway, you can obviously dance a little bit with the tools of the platform to gain or try to narrow down your search. But the insights and the tools are already there and will always be there, and regardless of which is the scenario that you're trying to solve, it's always there. So the first problem or thing the NIP aims to solve, it's this: the not presence of a tool that guides you through the collection of information that you usually stumble upon when you're trying to solve something. The next thing, I think, it's, as I said, the main hours spent trying to troubleshoot a specific scenario or case or customer complaint. So the reactive troubleshooting usually, obviously, sometimes costs SLA agreements. And as I said, not being able to proactively detect issues before the customer does it, sometimes it's really cost aggressive, and sometimes it's the deal breaker with the customer to receive complaints all the time and not being able to detect them before the customer does. It's really expensive for a business. And obviously the high mean time to resolution, the main hours spent to solve a single issue. So how the NIP works, how does this platform, or how it's built? So for those that don't know, the NIP is a completely separate product from the LORIOT network management system, the NMS. It runs in parallel, so it will never interfere with the processes and the performance of the NMS. So you forget about it; it's not an issue. So, and the way it works is that all the log events that are available and are generated by the activity of the IoT network and generated by the NMS, which is obviously managing that network. These are practically in real time forwarded to Elastic Cloud instance in which the NIP is deployed with all the standard out-of-the-box dashboards and other features that the NIP provides, ready to make use of these logs. So as I mentioned, imagine you have here the IoT infrastructure to the left side of the screen. So you have your network, regardless of your use case. So in each NMS, there's a single service that is in charge of collecting the logs and forwarding them to a different machine managed by LORIOT, which runs a Logstash service, which is it's in charge of refining the information and enriching all the log events with specific, trying to prepare them to make the most of them then later in the NIP. And last, when the logs have been refined and enriched, they are forwarded to the specific Elasticsearch instance in the NIP or Elastic Cloud instance, which basically has two main services running. One is Elasticsearch, which is in charge of querying the data, indexing, and such, just like interacting with the raw data that it's the enriched data that is stored in the instance, and then Kibana, which is the application, the group of applications that let you dive through your data. And of course, one of the main features that the NIP provides is a set of predefined out-of-the-box dashboards. So to continue, before going through the main or core features and characteristics of the NIP, I would like to present the NIP in a different way, with trying to go through a sample scenario, which maybe some of you are familiar with. I call it the noisy neighbor blackout. So, for example, you receive a complaint from a customer. You're a IoT network manager. So the customer is saying that one of their smart deployments suddenly is experiencing like a terrible packet loss. And they say, for example, that they haven't changed anything. And they say that, like, for example, they are not in the site. So they suspect a gateway is continuously going offline, for example. So they tell you, they raise a ticket, or they tell you in an email that you have to check it out and see what is happening. So just let me share my screen and we can go ahead with this with the demo. Okay. It might take just a second. All right, here it is. Okay, so I will, as I said, I will go over the main features and listing all the capabilities of the NIP. But imagine that you, as I said, you receive the complaint. So typically, you can go to the LMS, review the logs, review the status of the gateway, or a specific gateway that the customer told you that they are suspecting that it's offline. But you check it out and you notice that the gateway is online, up and running. So you quickly, as sometimes happens, you quickly like discard the probable or the suggestion of the root cause claimed by the customer. So you go to your NIP. Obviously, you go to a network insight platform and start checking out and try to dive into the actionable visualizations and dashboard that the NIP provides to try to gain more context and dive through all of it to try and discover what is the really cause behind the symptoms or the issues that the customer is going through. So, for example, they tell you that they are experiencing huge packet loss. So you can see here, for example, I'm right now checking the last 24 hours activity of the NMS, a specific instance. So let's confirm what the customer is saying. Like, okay, you have a few devices that are experiencing huge packet loss. Let's say that, okay, for 24 hours period, these amounts of packet loss frames, it's quite high. So you're here in the network overview dashboard, which allows you to have a bird's eye view of the whole network, how's the health of your network. So you use this with this table over here, which highlights the devices with the most loss frames. And you learn, for example, you take one of these devices as an example. Let's take the first one, the ending in 55. And we go to the end devices dashboard, which allows you to go dive deeper into the performance and the behavior of a single, end device sample, which can be a single device. So right here, we are in the end devices dashboard. And as you can see here, there are activity trends graphs, a comprehensive list with many characteristics, trying to show you different characteristics of the devices in your network. Right here, for example, we can see again the device that we detected with the highest loss frames. It's experiencing a packet loss rate of 86% in the last 24 hours, which is a huge anomaly to study. Obviously, over here you have, you do the due diligence to check out whatever graphs you think are useful. As I mentioned, you can use this dashboard, for example, to dive through the behavior of a single device. So I use this control filter for device UI to search for this specific device that is the most troubled one. And we can see here, like for the last 24 hours again, with this control, the behavior, and we can see like the behavior or the loss frames behavior is detected like with consistently in time across the last 24 hours. And for example, here we can see the device has between 1 and 2 gateways in range. It has been sending uplinks in different spreading factors. To be a 24 hours period, you may think that it's quite maybe violent to switch from 7 to 11 or 12 spreading factor. So you might take that into account. Then you can see here that there were different behaviors regarding the SNR and SCI, but okay, you think that this is not helpful for this scenario, so maybe you try to go back to the network overview dashboard again to maybe review again and maybe find something that you didn't notice the first time. And obviously, you now notice it that, okay, you see here in the lost frames graph that there is a spike here. But at the same time, and this is a cool feature here in the NIP, it allows you in the next graph, it's also highlighting the same time period that I'm marking here in the graph next to it. So you notice here that there's a spike here for the lost frames, but there's also a spike at the same time for the uplinks evolution graph. So you can see here these two events that are like, you may think they are not related, but maybe, for example, this uplinks peak spike is provoking an overload or it's overflowing a specific gateway, and overflowing maybe a gateway in specific channels may cause, for example, interference for other devices which are behaving healthy. So you decide to take a look at the gateway usage heat map, and as we were suspecting, there's, for example, a single gateway that is receiving a huge amount of uplinks from a single device compared to the rest of gateways and devices in the heat map. This is clearly like outstanding number from the rest of the heat map. So, okay, you decide to take a look at this specific gateway in the gateway dashboard, which is over here. Again, you can take a look at the general behavior of all your gateways. For example, here you can see the connectivity timeline, see the evolution of the connectivity status of all your gateways or the gateways that you filter. So here we also have, as we had in the end device dashboard, we have a gateway UI control filter. So we take the gateway that we saw was receiving a huge amount of traffic from a single device. So we search for it. And now the whole dashboard is reacting to this control filter, and we're seeing that, okay, what we suspected is that this device, which is obviously overflowing these specific gateways in these 3 specific frequency channels, may be provoking that the gateway is obviously overloaded and is unable to handle the traffic from other devices that may be behaving healthily. So, okay, you take this information and you go back to the, we know there's a device from the, from the gateway heat map that is behaving like crazily with a huge amount of uplinks. So we search here for the specific device that is sending the information. Just let me take off the other device. Okay. We removed it, and we're just right now consulting or seeing information for the specific device that is generating all this traffic. So we see here for the last 24 hours period that this device is consistently sending a huge amount of uplinks. Like we see here, like for every 30 minutes period, it's sending 360 uplinks only. It's not even receiving downlinks or sending join requests. It's only sending uplinks, a huge amount. So we can conclude with this evidence that the device is behaving with some issues. And we go back to the customer and we say, we show the evidence from here, and we order them to go to the site and maybe ask them if there was a firmware update in the device that may cause this faulty behavior. Okay, so right now you found the solution, you found the cause, but you want to be prepared for the next time to see or try to be more quick and detect these anomalies, these issues before the customer does, or worse, that a single customer has faulty hardware that is provoking a degradation in the rest of your network. So what you want to do is to get noticed like right away. So what you do is to use another feature of the NIP, which is the alerting engine, which is a really cool, great feature, which allows you to set a specific group of conditions. And when these conditions are met, but the data that is being processed in the NIP, it sends an alert. So, for example, what I want to do here, for example, to prevent this kind of events that we went through, is to create a specific alert that goes that counts the amount of uplinks for a specific period for each device, and give you notice if, for example, a device sends more than, let's say, 1,000 uplinks for a 1 hour period. If that happens, send me an alert. So we can see here that I've prepared or configured this rule to check for uplinks or confirmed uplinks events, and I want to count off these uplinks and to check if the total amount for the last 1 hour is above 1,000 uplinks. And obviously here we have the group alerts feature to check, make the engine check this information, this condition per device. And I also want to check or schedule this rule to be checked, these conditions, every 30 minutes. So a great feature here, which is it's complementing the alerting engine, is the actions, which allows me to prepare an integration with whereas a pre-configured SMTP server incorporated in the NIP, or to use my own SMTP server to send emails, and also leverage a whole other group of integrations, third-party integrations that are in the NIP. So, for example, right here I have configured a connector that allows me to send alerts through Slack. But here we have a preview of all the connectors and integrations that are available in the NIP. So, for example, Microsoft Teams, or maybe create an incident in Jira to handle handle the issue through a ticket. Slack, as I used, maybe send a webhook, or just an email preparing or configuring an SMTP server of my own. So now I've chosen the Slack connector to send the messages. And for example, well, obviously I can just say the rule with changes. Obviously, I already prepared this, and then I can just leave my rule running, and I know that I will receive a message when the condition is met. Just to go over a different rule that may be like a nice complement. I mean, we know initially the customers told us that they were losing frames, so I prepare a different rule to detect an exaggerated amount of lost frames in 24 hours period per device, which is 40. But this is just to show you how a specific alert can look like. So for example, here I run the rule every 12 hours, and I received 9 alerts for 9 different devices that the sum of lost frames was 44 for the duration of 24 hours period. And this is about the threshold I set, which was 40. And this is for the device with this dev UI. All right, I hope you enjoyed this quick demo. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay, here we are. Okay, after a nice demo, let me quickly go through some things that you already saw, but I want to, in a detailed way, go over the main characteristics and capabilities of the NIP. So the first thing that comes to mind, and you saw, are the dashboards. So the NIP comes with an out-of-the-box dashboards, which are prepared to go from macro view to micro analysis. So the first thing we saw was the network overview dashboard, which is prepared to give you a high-level view of the entire network and to see the overall health and activity in the network. Then you have the gateway level dashboard, which allows you to go, you can see for a specific gateway sample or for a single gateway and dive through the specific gateway performance and gain insights on that. And then you have the end device level dashboard, which gives you with much granularity or the highest level of granularity, the insights on the behavior of an individual device or from a group of devices that you may be interested in. The other cool feature that we went over in the demo is the alerting engine, which allows you to not being on top of the network all the time or trying to monitor the network all the time through the dashboards, but you can sit back and work on different stuff while the engine takes care of controlling 24 hours and safeguarding the activity of the NMS or your network. So with the custom alerts feature, you can create any sort of rules to detect specific conditions based on the activity of the NMS. And for example, detect when a device is inactive, is not sending any uplinks or join requests, for example, or abnormal traffic, as we saw in the example, when a device sends more than, for example, 1,000 uplinks every hour, or for example, to try to control fair usage policies or SLA agreements. And control when they are breached. Another thing which is complementing the custom alerts feature is the notifications and through connectors, which allows you to get the notifications of these alerts that are when they occur through built-in integrations, which can be like the typical ones, like sending emails, whether it is with an SMTP server that you provide or the one which is native in Elastic in the NIP, or maybe using other third-party integrations like Slack or Microsoft Teams, or just sending webhooks. Obviously, there are other features. One of them, which is like very specific for dive through raw data, is the Discover application, which allows you to to go through the raw data, the raw logs of the NMS, but also allows you to create tailored views that allows you to focus on specific fields or information. Like you can prepare filters which are custom made by you, and you can save those settings, the filters, the views, to later use it right away to troubleshoot any situations when you need it right away. The last point I want to highlight is that besides what we saw, which are the out-of-the-box dashboards, the 3 dashboards that come with the NIP, you can also use the NIP to create your own visualizations and your own dashboards. So this is like a huge advantage compared to maybe other platforms that are like static and you get what you see. Here you can create anything you want, anything you need, and try to just make your own way and adapt the whole platform completely to your specific needs for your business, your customers, or maybe cross-team tasks. So just closing here, if you want to learn more, obviously you can contact me, but you can always contact our sales team to gain more knowledge and get more information about the NIP and the available subscriptions for the product. And it's very important to highlight that the NIP is not only available for enterprise private server customers of the NMS, but also for professional public server NMS users. So it's widely prepared to work with any kind of deployments. And obviously here you have useful links to go over more information about the product. Okay, I think Dario, this is your cue.
Yeah, here I am. Sorry. So yeah, it's time for questions. If you have from the audience, I think you already covered everything about the Network Insight platform is today. So before, while we're waiting, if there are any questions, I think your presentation was really detailed. So maybe not many questions. I have one. You presented what NIP is today. Can you anticipate anything from what is coming? What are you working on? New dashboards, new features, new extensions? What's in the plan?
Okay, for sure. Right now, we are in the first stages of the product, so I'm continuously working in new. With all the feedback that I receive internally from all other LORIOT colleagues, but also from other users, we are continuously using that feedback to. Well, the first thing that I can do is to create or maybe improve existing visualizations and graphs to provide that information. Obviously, sometimes for specific needs, there are conditions that have to be studied more carefully. But whenever it's possible or easy, we are continuously working on new visualizations. And obviously, there are some of the features that are on the way. One of the goals for the year is to have the ability to visualize and store. I think the key word here is store the uplink data that is received by the NMS, to being able to not only forward it to the application server, which is a known feature of the NMS, but also for the NIP customers to forward the uplink hexadecimal data to the NIP. And customers are really interested in having like a backup of the information. So I think the NIP is right now the answer. and the people at LORIOT knows that. I know it, so we'll be working on that. And obviously, I won't show all my cards, so you will have to stay tuned to learn more.
It sounds fair. But just one, I think this is important for the audience. Every new feature, every new visualization, new dashboard will be automatically, let's say, deployed to all the system, also existing customers. Is that right?
Exactly. Every time a new dashboard, every modification that I introduce to a dashboard, an existing dashboard, or if we create a new dashboard, is automatically pushed to every deployment available, which ongoing, let's say. So obviously with the due diligence of communicating with all of the users, so they are not surprised, obviously. But every time we improve the platform, this is automatically available for everyone, of course. Yeah. Thank you.
I've seen no other questions. So just to final reminder, our LORIOT Network Insight platform is available for private customers and professional public service customers, so customers that are using our subscriptions connectivity plans on our global infrastructure. Of course, even if PPS, professional public service, are shared instances, NIP is going to be extremely secure, and the data, your data, won't be available to other users in any moment. I think that's all. Again, thank you, Agustín, and thank you, our audience. Remember, if you are watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube as a replay, to follow the channel and hit the bell buttons so you will be notified for future for future videos we are gonna publish, or tutorials. And if you want to give it a try to the NIP, get in touch, and our sales team will be happy to guide you through every dashboard, every detail, and let you have a try of this new product. That's it. Again, thank you very much, and have a good one.
You too. Thank you for everything. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Till the next one.